Hi, love. Welcome back to Soften Up with Crystal Alexandria. I am so glad you're here. Oh, if it isn't true that we have been conditioned for perfectionism throughout our entire lives, it is a constant practice to undo the internalized perfectionist standards that I was grown with. What I've realized about it is that imperfection is holy territory. It's sacred. This has honestly been a game changer for me to realize because perfectionism in our culture is pinnacleized. It's held to be the standard and the thing to quest for. And yet there's no medals for it. The only thing you win is more work in traditional work environments. And at the end of the day, it's a cover for fear and dodging vulnerability any chance and any way and method that we can. As we dive into this conversation, I want you to know, heart to heart, that this is as much for me as it is for you. If you've been drawn to this conversation, just know that I am holding your hand through it. What also is happening is that I'm figuring out ways in my everyday life to get around the perfectionism trappings and internalized prison of it all into feeling more creative and more me in my life. And if there's anything that I can share today that helps to move the needle just a little bit in the direction of my imperfection is a sign of my whole humanity. I hope that you can take that and run with it. I think over time, you'll get to know about me that anything I choose to put out in the world, any topic, anything I'm teaching, anything I'm sharing about, there ends up being some kind of lesson in it for me as well. Every time. It's happened for years and it continues to happen. And honestly, I love that about sharing in these formats. I love that I get to be a student of life as well. And I love that I don't have to have the pressure to be the one in the room that knows it all. Uh, geez. I'm so glad to have let that go. I would much rather be in conversation, in circle together, than to be put up on some pedestal and projected upon to be perfect and some ideal superhuman human. I'm so not interested in being that for people. This is not a conversation that's going to get into the ins and outs of perfectionism. I really want to center the imperfectionism of it all and it being holy. That sounds like an oxymoron. And I love that about it. I love when unexpected things come together. And to think that imperfection hits on this note of sacredness, of ritual, of heart coherence, heart alignment. Oh, it just feels like the medicine for perfectionism at its core. And I feel relief in my body. Talk about feeling softened towards myself. Oh my God, like that's amazing. More of that, please. Imperfection is us being human. I think that the only way to go through life and to accomplish things and experience what we want to experience is through imperfect living, perfect being, imperfect action taking. It's the only way that things actually happen. Even the most refined, badass, incredible creators out there, whether it's film or acting or artistry, they can always pinpoint the thing that didn't go the way that they planned, right? It never goes that way. It never goes the way that we think it's going to go. And I love that for us. I don't always love it. Okay. I don't always love it. Let's just be clear, especially when I'm the one wrestling with something that changed unexpectedly. But in the end, it always ends up becoming what it was meant to become. And I think there's incredible grace in that. There's co-collaboration in that process. It reminds me that I'm not alone, that better things can come in if I'm open to it. And I don't want to live in a silo. I want to have other collaborators and creators, whether it's my spirit team or my fellow creatives or my family. I want that. I want to have co-creators around me. That to me signals like a delicious life. Yes, please. Yes to that. So, speaking of co creators, there is an artist that I absolutely respect and adore so much. Her name is Amy McNee, and this woman has come into my life and leveled up my ability to continuously create over time. So, what does that mean? It means that I'm writing more often, I'm painting more often. I started this podcast. Hello. I'm going to community events centering my creativity. I'm reading more books. I'm connecting with other creatives through her communities. And I just love what she stands for. She is inherently a rebel. And I just absolutely love her voice and what she stands for in these times that we're in. So she wrote a book. She actually wrote a lot of books. She's written great fiction books, but also she's gotten into the nonfiction space. And so her first nonfiction book is We Need Your Art. Stop messing around and make something. And shout out to our libraries. Our libraries are incredible. I have read so many books over the last year. Even if you don't plan on reading, actually going and picking up books or reading them online, just go and get a library card because we need all of the signals possible to help boost and align our support. Shout out to our libraries. That's it. Okay, so in this book, We Need Your Art, Amy speaks to perfectionism so incredibly beautifully. It's also probably one of the more like confronting chapters in the book, but in the most delicious way that like, okay, girl, okay, you're talking to the deep parts. I don't know if I like it, but thanks, that kind of vibe. Having very high standards doesn't make you work harder or achieve more. It paralyzes you and keeps you small. Mhm. Perfectionism is playing defense, protecting you from potential failure or shame. It's time to play offense. Create vulnerably, create to connect, create to make an impact. If that is not the heart of it all for me, I don't know what is. That's the cost. That was the price that I was paying for sticking so hard, whether it be consciously or unconsciously, to my perfectionism. The most painful part about it is that I wanted to be creating more. I wanted to be doing this podcast 2 years ago, and I still want to be writing books just like Amy. The perfectionism kept me in this cycle of self-doubt of if I can't do it perfect, if I can't figure out the whole path of what it's meant to be from the very beginning, then I wouldn't do it well enough. I would stop after starting. And of course, sprinkled in there is the fear of, judgment and being misunderstood and things like that, which I think is just, when it comes down to it, human. But this whole vibe of it's time to play offense, that is like so on time and on point for the energetic shifts going on right now. We're now in a 1 year in 2026. It's the start of a whole new 9-year cycle. We just had the Lunar New Year. If you're into the astrology conversations, my goodness, so much is going on. But with Saturn and Neptune now in Aries, there's so many cues that we're in this whole new era. And with the Lunar New Year being the year of the fire horse, this is where embracing imperfection as a holy, sacred practice of self-acceptance, self-allowance, doing things imperfectly for the sake of doing them. Like I just hit this tipping point where I'm just like, okay, I'm literally going to spend the rest of my life in kind of this like gluttonous overconsumption of everybody else's art. I just couldn't stand it anymore because from the perspective of universal laws, there has to be these balances between in and out. So if you don't know, there's a set of universal laws that govern our universe, and these are innate, intricately woven into our everyday experience. And there's one called Universal Law of Balance. I'm going to read something from philarchive.org about the Universal Law of Balance, the key to understanding free will and human decision-making by Endelito Malasese. So it says, understanding the universal law of balance states that everything in nature operates within a dynamic equilibrium. Whether we look at ecosystems, physics, economics, or psychology, balance is the governing principle that maintains stability and prevents collapse. He goes on to give some examples. There's two that I want to highlight. He says, in nature, ecosystems regulate themselves. If one species becomes too dominant, natural mechanisms restore the balance. In human behavior, emotional states fluctuate based on internal and external conditions, always seeking equilibrium. These examples show that balance is not just a concept, it's an inescapable law of existence. Okay, I'm sharing this because there was some kind of natural mechanism inside of me that said I was consuming too much of other people's art and trying to replace the craving inside of me that wanted to create my own. But I had this overlay going on internally in my mind that wouldn't let me create because on some level, I couldn't meet the standards or the expectations internalized in my brain. And so there was this constant push, pull of I think envy and jealousy are really powerful forces to actually pay attention to internally, because I would feel envious of people like Amy who are prolifically writing as a practice and then putting it out into the world. And whether it's painters or musicians or any kind of creators out there, the only reason that we have stuff to scroll on the internet is because people are putting themselves out there to create. The creator economy is a real thing. And frankly, these creators are so good at what they do that big quote unquote powers in the world are doing everything that they can to squash and silence and buy them up and change the algorithm and keep them hidden. So just like Amy says all the time, art is political. And I wanted to be a part of creating the art that gets circulated around. And so here I am. But I had some shit to get over. You know what I'm saying? I know you do. I know you know exactly what I'm saying. So I'll leave you with this one last quote about perfectionism. Artists are not like athletes. We cannot win gold. We cannot beat other creatives. We cannot come first. Sport is objective. Art is subjective. Creating to be the best is a waste of energy. Instead, create to connect to the people who need you because they are out there. Create in your own way because there is no right way. Take the pressure off and focus on your own unique brand of magic. I hope you really take that in. I hope you feel that in your cells. If you have been stuck in the back and forth of wanting to create, but then stopping yourself and starting and stopping and talking about what you're going to put out there, and then you end up stopping yourself, know that you're in good company, and also know that we can get over this. We can overcome and devote ourselves more towards the imperfection of us than the perfection of us. The perfection inherently creates separation, otherness, even sometimes hierarchical separation from each other. Better, best, win, lose, that kind of binary crap. But the imperfection, my goodness, it's like a melting. We're all imperfect. It's a immediate starting point. It's an immediate opening into real, vulnerable, genuine, authentic conversation together. To admit your imperfections, to allow yourself to be seen in this dance and this struggle at times will make you so much more relatable and available for connection with other people. And just like that quote said, it's about creating to connect. And what if creating to connect was enough? What if that was the whole point? What if that's the feel-good part about it? Because I'll tell you, one thing to know about me is I do not care about going viral. I don't want that, actually. I think the word itself, it's a not great application of something that makes us sick. Viral, you know what I'm saying? And I do tend to be quite literal with my word choices. And so virality is not the goal, connection is. To be seen and to be witnessed in my creative process is a sign of success for me. Hearing from you of little love notes when something that I put out into the world really resonates with you. Oh, that is pure magic. On the days, especially when I feel like I'm just yelling into the void, or sometimes softly speaking into the void, those messages pierce through that. But they never would have happened had I not put myself out there. When Amy wrote the chapter on perfectionism, she started it by saying the very first sentence is, note, there are 10 spelling and grammatical errors in this chapter. Have fun finding them. She's such a boss. Oh my God. So instead of like beating myself up about like imperfect things that I do in these videos, every time my brain, since it is so like deeply conditioned to find the holes and find the problems, if that happens, this is my practice to keep it holy. I'm going to pause. I'm going to take it into my heart. I'm going to say, hey, I saw it. You saw it. And in the end, what matters more is that we did the damn thing. We did it. We did it. And imperfection is the goal. We're not trying to say everything perfectly. There's going to be things that we don't say right, that we're going to trigger people. There's going to be misunderstandings and miscommunications along the way. And what I know about me, what I know to be true about me, is that I'm going to grow from it. And I'm going to keep going. Ah, cheers to that. Thanks for being here. You know the name of the game. Like, share, follow, subscribe. It really does help get these episodes and helpful perspectives, human perspectives, out to more people. And I just so appreciate that you're here. I would love to hear from you. What is your holy practice to celebrate your imperfections along the way? I would love to see in the comments below. Until next time, love.